Austrian economists were quick to give a thorough critique of Clark and Knight's concept of capital, which Austrians view as erroneous. Specifically, Böhm-Bawerk points out the mythological or mystical nature of capital in Clark and Knight's conception. What is this about capital being a self-replicating fund or mass? In real life, there is a highly complex structure of capital goods, which form part of the different stages in the production process, and which, once they exist, certainly do not exist indefinitely, nor do they replicate themselves as if by magic. Quite the opposite is true. Whether those capital goods are conceived, produced and maintained, and their depreciation is dealt with, and changes in the stock of them occur, depends on numerous concrete decisions and actions entrepreneurs must take. Capital goods do not replicate themselves. Instead, entrepreneurs must consider a constellation of them, decide which ones are undervalued, and then buy them at a low price, recombine them, and try to produce goods they hope to eventually sell in the future at a high price, so they can recover the cost and obtain a large profit. Therefore, what exists is a highly complex structure of concrete capital goods which flesh and blood entrepreneurs must always conceive, produce, select, and combine throughout a process of production. If you conceive of capital as a sort of fund, a self-replicating mass, you are excluding from your economic analysis precisely what is most important, the study of the real structure of capital goods, which is created every day by an army of entrepreneurs who boldly strive to both avoid losses and make a profit. Anyone who chooses this oversimplified view of capital as a self-replicating mass or fund loses sight of what is most important in economics. He also misses the chance to clearly understand the bridge or link between the micro and the macro sides of economics. Thus, he misses all the microeconomic effects we studied, which determine, for instance, that saving in a free market tends ultimately to be invested well, and yields a more capital-intensive and more vertical capital goods structure, and that an injection of money from artificial credit expansion distorts the productive structure, and causes real malinvestment that the market eventually uncovers and reverses in the form of a financial crisis and an economic recession. Since monetarists lack a capital theory, and conceive of capital in such a mythical, mystical way as Clark and Knight's self-replicating fund, they cannot understand the process of savings accumulation, which leads to a more capital-intensive, capital goods structure, nor the process of widespread malinvestment, which is triggered in the system by artificial credit expansion. Remember that in the correct scientific view, capital is simply a mental category of economic calculation. It is simply entrepreneurs' estimate of the value, at market prices, of the capital goods available to them. And entrepreneurs always keep an eye on the value, at market prices, of the different capital goods, be they computers, facilities, machinery, computer programs, or buildings, etc. Then, depending on those prices and the projects entrepreneurs conceive, they discover many profit opportunities, chances to buy certain capital goods at low prices, recombine them in a production process, and later sell them as mature consumer goods at much higher prices. This entire process is driven by entrepreneurs, and in no way does it work automatically, as Clark and Knight believe. The process requires concrete decisions in an environment of uncertainty and an institutional framework which is respectful of private property, and in which bankers are not granted the privilege of operating with a fractional reserve. We must prevent the distortion of the essential signs that guide entrepreneurs in their decisions, signs like the interest rate, credit terms, loan conditions, etc. I will conclude this first comment on monetarists with an observation made by Böhm-Bawerk, who taught Mises, and by Mises himself back in their day. With this mythical, oversimplified view of capital as a fund which perpetuates itself indefinitely outside of entrepreneurial decisions, not only do monetarists eliminate the entrepreneur and the temporal structure of capital goods, but they also open the door to numerous fallacious and perversely erroneous theories, such as the theory of underconsumption. If it turns out that capital replicates itself outside of the decisions of individuals, and we conceive of the economy as a mere circular flow of income, firms paying wages and rent to households, and these in turn spending the money at the firms and so on, then clearly any economic crisis will immediately be viewed as the result of underconsumption and families not spending enough, and the panacea seen for overcoming a crisis will be to consume and spend more. People will identify the age-old problem as a lack of aggregate or effective demand. As we will see, no matter how often monetarists have been portrayed as the arch-enemies of Keynesians, we should not be surprised to find that they are actually cousins. To use a more pejorative expression, monetarists and Keynesians are the same dogs with different collars. Ultimately, they are letting in the same errors, the same economic fallacies, such as the mistaken view of the economy as something that is always in balance or coming back into balance. From their perspective, the future is to come, rather than to be made through entrepreneurship. I repeat, the moment things appear to be going wrong, the only explanation their model offers for the possible crisis is a lack of demand. What is needed is more consumption. They opened the door to the erroneous theories of a lack of aggregate demand and of underconsumption.